Is it blue? Okay. So my name is Moises Quintanilla. I've been with Honeywell 10 years, not as many as Larry or others like Jan and Luke. You know. But yeah, 10 years is quite a long. So I was based in Latin America, and then I got relocated to the United States. Then later this year, I became the global product manager for the Honeywell brands. My manager, you probably know them or know him, is David Wierspan. So he's now the portfolio leader worldwide of Alderton, Trent, and Honeywell. He's managing all the brands now at the BMS control level. So that is what is happening. Why it happened? Well, like you guys already know, the optimizer suite is the future of Honeywell. Every single control piece that we talk about, Spyder, Cypress, that we have been designing for many, many years, everything is being migrated to the optimizer suite. It's one single solution for everyone in the world, wherever we're doing business as BMS. Okay. So I'm not going to bore you with all these numbers, but you know what is happening in the world. You know that there's a huge demand of building automation. And the main reason has to do with energy efficiency. Like anything that we do on the building, you want to save the operational cost of it. Then the end users use that money for whatever they want. Every single building is a business. You name it, hotel, hospital, everyone is a business. So that money is being used in any other asset that they want. But the whole intent is to save operational costs of the building so I can use that money for someone else. And then the other thing that it's everywhere right now, AI everywhere, all the predictive analysis, all predictive maintenance is here. Right now you have it on your phones, but now it's going to step more into the building system. And there's a main reason of it for it. It has to do with the AI tools delivered to the businesses around the world, like hospitals, hotels, everything now wants or has capability tools of AI. But the biggest question of all, how do I reach the AI? How do I use those tools? How is the only way that I can use those tools? Using IP connectivity, Internet Protocol connectivity. And we talked about this 3 years ago when we released the unitary controllers, and we talk about a product and a technology that is not owned by us, that actually happened in 2019, but is the IEEE who own or they design all the Ethernet standard communication around the world. Every single device that talks Ethernet, your laptop and a printer, the controllers, they're using a standard worldwide Ethernet protocol that was developed by the IEEE. And when that time came, in 2019, when they developed T1L technology, then we took that and we were the very first company in the world to bring that technology to the BMS system. Because what we knew is going to happen later on is what actually is happening this year. Longworks is going to be completely dead. By 2027, there's not going to be controllers, at least manufacturer of controllers, capable of purchasing two releases, which is the only manufacturer in the world, owner of the 8-kiloton chip set, the Lon chipset. They fully own that brand. They're not going to sell that brand, and they will stop producing chips. That is why this tag, JCI, and the rest already communicated the end of it. Honeywell is going to do it. Our last time buy is going to be 2027. So we still can manufacture LAN controllers, classic LAN, Striker LAN, but the time has come. Good news, we're the only ones in the world yet having a migration of that. And that is why it's so important now. Because when you want to reach a cloud, the only way to do it is using IP connectivity. So that is the thing that is going on in the world. So for many years, even since BACnet was invented by ASHRAE, and we have Longworks and others, there's been always this, at least the very three challenges in every single building, right? And the end user faces. When it was Longworks and then BACnet came in, everyone was saying, oh, no, there's a new technology, and then there's a technology gap, right? I have controllers that talk specific language or protocol, and now here comes ASHRAE and tells me that I need to use BACnet, Then what I do, I change all the controllers. What am I going to do, right? So that is one of the things. So these challenges are not new. The thing is, has been changing from RS-485 type of communication, that is Modbus, BACnet, MSTP, right? Longworks, all those are running on serial communication. Now everyone wants to step into IP protocol communication, that what we know for many, many years, since the IEEE invented it and did the standard of Ethernet across the world, is Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 6. What we know is the key, right? But there are more into that, and T10 was part of it. So yeah, there's a technology gap. So if I have a building with BACnet MSTP, with Modbus controllers, how on earth am I going to move those to the IP world? And then with that also comes the other two problems: lack of integration. As soon as corporate buildings want more and more information to throw to the cloud for their tools, most of them is going to be energy. That's for sure. We still need to integrate those. And believe it or not, across the world, there are a lot of buildings that are still not using or integrating those pieces of other subsystems in their building to their BMS, right? And then you have the operational efficiency, like we were talking about. Every single building is a business. If I have a hotel and then here comes the brand, the parent brand, and so let's say I own 5 Hiltons in the United States, right? And then here comes Hilton's tells me I need that information from your systems to go all the way to my corporate, even if I own the franchise brand, right? Corporate's telling me to throw that information, so I'll be forced to do that. And once I've been forced, what is going to happen with my rooms? I need to close them. Every single day, those rooms are being closed. Every single hotel that is being closed. And you can name it. Hospitals, every single operational room that I don't use, every single room that I cannot rent, I'm losing money every single day. So that is where the operational efficiency is a problem. So you're telling me to replace a controller, to replace cabling, just to bring that information to a cloud, just because that is what is needed, but are you going to lose money out of it? So it doesn't make any sense. So how on earth am I going to do this as efficient as possible so I don't lose money? And then with great power, it's great responsibility comes in, the cyber threat. Everything looks good, right? Like, oh yeah, the tools, AI, right? What is the main problem? Cybersecurity. Everyone is afraid of that thing. And believe it or not, that thing is happening over and over again. So with those challenges in mind, how we can tackle them, we design the optimizer suite solution. It's been growing. It's not going to stop. I can see this thing stopping probably in the next 5 years. And once it stops, high likely we have more and more MPIs coming in the same platform. This is the future probably for the next 10 to 20 years of Honeywell. So it's the basis, and from here we need to start building the blocks, right? But at least this is the foundation. So like any other BMS, we have software, supervisor, integration. Then we have the plant controller, what we call plant controllers. I don't like that name. That was created by European people. There's a reason why they call it plant controllers, but it's the integration controller. It's like the Chase, the supervisor, right, controller. It has plant control capabilities as expanded IOs that we're going to see. But that is the hardware piece, right? When you look at the architecture, you have the software, then you have a supervisor controller which is integrating other parts of the building, but also is supervising the controllers down the stream. Then down the stream, you have now the much more less powerful controllers like unitary controllers or application-specific controllers like VADs, right? So that is like any other BMS system that is now new, right? But we're building blocks out of this. This is one of the architecture, kind of like how it's going to be building. There's a lot of more coming. For example, I have here the essential controller that we're going to talk about it later, but it's not in here, but it will be there below the advanced. So that is between the unitary controllers and the advanced controller. It's a middle term, like the Cyber 50, Cyber 30, that has unitary plant control, but it's not as powerful as the advanced controller. Okay. So like this is a full suite globally. You'll find the same controllers in other parts of the world, with different voltages. For example, Europe uses 230 volts. Do we have it available? Yes. In case you bring a good business case, I will absolutely be willing to bring 230 volts to America. If that's not the case, we're going to stick to 24 volts, okay? Now, there are others, like our Canadian guys, that they love this. So you can see that in this case, we have two types of terminal blocks. This one is screw type. We all know this ones. These ones are made for Europe, and the Canadians love it. And it's what we call push terminal blocks. So you push it to it. And we don't like it. Why we don't like it? Because what type of wire we use is, there you go. So, but they use solid, like really solid. You don't want to be punchy with the cable in Europe because they are so solid. But to put the stranded here, it's nice, bro. Canadians love it. So, but just FYI, you will see the same solution, exactly the same, but just changing, right? It's just changing just because of the market pipes. Okay, so just FYI. But across the platform, we all have the same solution for everyone in the world. So those are the three main pieces. So let's talk about cybersecurity first. And let me go back. So probably you guys already seen this slide, and I just want to take a little bit of time here because this is important, right? It's coming in, and many people, when I go across the world or across the United States or other places, they tell me, Moises, everything sounds perfect, but I don't hear about the news. And the first thing I tell them is, well, if you had a bridge, you want your customers to know what is going on? Absolutely not, right? So it is happening. Unfortunately, it's happening. Why we don't hear in the news? Because they are probably looking for other news, but no one wants to say, had a bridge, right? This year, the MGM still is paying customers. All the people that stay in the MGM Las Vegas has been lawsuit MGM Grand Las Vegas because last year they had the most known bridge, cybersecurity bridge, known in the United States. They had to pay $100 million to the ransomware team. That is people who stole the server of MGM Las Vegas. They stole all the information of all the guests that were there, all the information that was on the server. No one MGM has not been able to say, we had that in control. Your information was not leaked. There's nothing out there that you can. So MGM had to pay this year a lot of $1 million to all the guests that lawsuit them just because they were not able to prove that their information, like social security number, passports, credit cards, everything is not out there sold to anyone, right? So that is the main known. Now, if you go and Google IC3, every single year the FBI throws a report, and they know 10 groups of hackers, pirate groups. And this is what is becoming more weird. Well, these cyber criminal organizations have been hired by other criminal organizations like terrorists. And at the beginning, everyone wanted what? Personal information, right? If I can steal personal information, I can blackmail you, and then I can get money out of it, like MGM. The problem has come more into much more problematic situation when terrorists can access this type of information. Where? Well, hospital, for example. In a hospital, when you can control pressure, temperature, and humidity of a lot of hospitals in a city, if I'm a criminal organization of terrorists and I go with these guys and say, I give you $10 million, give me access to all the BMS systems of all these hospitals, in a matter of days or probably hours, I can increase temperature, humidity, and pressure on all these surgery rooms. And what is going to happen? We're going to start to spread disease. I can kill people out of it. So this is the problem. That is why many people are afraid of cybersecurity, because this actually is starting to escalate, right? And it looks like a movie, but it's going to start happening, right? So it's not fun, but just FYI. With that in mind, this controller that we have, that is the supervisor controller, the advanced controller, that is where it comes in. Because like I was saying, at many years you had a system that is a server, right? For the corporate building, let's say this is a hospital, the main hospital, and then I have other branches of hospital across the US or the country. I have access to information of patients and everything through the server. For many years, we had the VMS system, and these two have been isolated for many years. That information is flowing, not flowing from one side to the other at all. But what happens when I bring AI to the equation? When I need to take information from both systems and throw it out to the cloud, or even throw it out to the server, then I have a connection. It's an open door both ways, right? And here it's when it gets interesting. Since this is bidirectional, who can tell me on the controllers or the J, for example, or even our Cyber 50 or Cyber 30 or the IP controllers, when you read the specs of these ports, what do you find? What is the terminology of these ports? What they are doing in these two ports? What type of ports are?
They're isolated.
They are not isolated. They are switched. Switch port. Tridium has the possibility of isolating them virtually. You can isolate it virtually, but not physically. Oh, and what does that mean on physical world? This port and this port on the board, they are welded. So I can go one, like an open door, like from here to there and there from here, right? When it gets fully isolated, like the advanced, I'm sorry about that, then I can block the access from here to there and from there to the BMS. This is so important because in the terrorist case that I was talking about, if the terrorists want to access the server just to access the BMS to start controlling temperature and humidity in this side, if that thing is switched, I can do that. But if this thing is completely isolated, there's no way. This is the only controller in Honeywell portfolio that you will find this port. This thing is completely physical, isolated IP port. And you will tell me, so the information doesn't flow from one to the other? No, it does. But how it is doing it, it has a chip internal that is copying and pasting information from one side to the other. And when this controller detects any vulnerability in cybersecurity, it locks completely. Once it's locked, there's no way you can go in and out. It's just isolated completely. How it's done, it has to do with the SMAs. It has to do with a lot of information that we run in this controller. But this one is in the only BMS controller probably in the world that has, as a BMS, supervisor controller, a physical IP completely isolated IP port. When you talk about this with IT, this is a game changer. Okay. I'm not saying the Jace is not capable. The Jace is really good. 9000 has its market. It has really good. Like Larry was saying, it all depends what you want to do, right? But this one is the only one in the world. So with thinking about it, we not only stop there. There are a lot of things that you can start to see more and more in the specs. So for example, the first one that many people talk about is BACnet Secure Connect. BACnet SC. Who here can tell me what is BACnet SC? Anyone?
PKI certificates.
Kind of, yeah. It's PKI certificate between products of what type of protocol? It's on the name. BACnet device. BACnet secure is good, yeah. It's encrypting data between two BACnet devices, multiple BACnet devices. But what is the problem? Having integration. My question to you is, how many times do you find a building that's only running back? What's going to happen with the back side? Is it encrypted? No. Longworks? No. So is it good if you have a building running BACnet all over it? Once the moment you start to integrate other protocol, which that is why you have a JACE or an advanced controller, guess what? That is also an open door for anyone to bridge and come in. So BACnet Secure Connect, it is actually encrypting data between two BACnet devices, but it's only BACnet. Whatever you have attached to the controller and the other port, it's an open switch port. So it's good. But then you have this ISA certification. ISA, who have you ever heard about ISA? Industrial Secure Association? No? All the PLCs in the world and the Cisco routers are ISA certified. How that works is a two-step certification process. First, the manufacturer of the controller or the PLC or the switch of that IT device needs to be certified that wherever they are storing the blueprints of the device, all the data and how we manufacture this controller and everything that goes and runs behind it is secure enough that no one can access. So first they attempt to hack the manufacturer. If they will not access that information, then you can certify the product. If they were accessing that information, then you cannot certify the product. So in the previous slide, there was one that you can also Google 2023, that the Department of Homeland Security of the United States had a breach through Johnson Controls Open Blue system. And they were using a kind of Facility Explorer controller, and they breached the cybersecurity of that controller, and they accessed the Department of Homeland Security offices around the United States of America. That information went to CNN, so you can Google it. It's out. But how the hackers did it, it wasn't telling you enough, because the IT servers had been over and over being protected. How? Upgrading, changing cybersecurity, changing the logs, the encryptions, right? That is how you protect yourself from hackers. The problem with the BMS systems, like Larry was saying, how many BMS systems do you know that are up to date in their SMA or in their N5? Not many, right? So that is a problem, right? Because then I can access it. It's easier. And the hackers will say, well, if I don't want to hack the Department of Homeland Security of the United States directly. But if I know that all the offices of the Department of Homeland Security is attached to a Johnson Controls Open Blue Facility Explorer controller, what about hacking Johnson Controls? That's exactly what they hacked Johnson Controls, and that way they were accessing the Department of Homeland Security of the United States. So ISA is important because the only way for you to be certified your controller is at first the manufacturer, like us, Honeywell, we prove that the blueprints of this safe box, of this server, are not accessible, right? And once they are proved, then we can certify. This is the only controller in the world with ISA certification as a BMS control. There's no other controller in the world that has that certification. Who will you find there? Cisco. Where you find others? Like General Electric, all the UPS pieces, the electrical equipment, they are certified ISA. Why? Because data centers, hospitals, if you can hack electrical systems on a hospital, guess what? You can actually start killing people, right? Or you can go to data centers. One of the biggest assets of data centers is electrical systems. If I hack the electrical system of a AWS, what is going to happen with that? The data center is going to go down, right? That is why UPSs are certified ISA. Cisco switches and others. You will find PLCs from Honeywell, Johnson Controls PLCs, another type of PLCs like Siemens, Schneider, but it's PLCs. None of those are BMS systems like this. Okay, so that is important. And last but not least, the AO 2.1X, that is also in the JACE, but also in the advanced. This is a certificate encryption method that you guys know as MFA, multi-factor authentication method. And everyone in this training room has been a rabbit of that thing. Why? When you go into your bank account using a different device, what is the very first thing that they say you? Well, if you're trying to connect with that device to your account, I will need to prove that you are that person. And what they say, oh, I'll send you an email or I'm gonna send you an SMS with a code. That code, what is being provided is a 801.2x, which is granting access to the network for that device to pull and push data. You can still connect to the network, but you will not be able to push and pull data unless you have that certificate. And that is huge important. It's going to come more and more on the IT world when these are starting to be united. You will see that on the quotes. You will see that on the specs. I need your controller be capable of 801.21x, right? That is encryption methods between devices. Okay, this is ISA. You can Google it and you can scan those QR codes. I will share that information with you. But yeah, this controller has been thought about cybersecurity. Now, the other thing, like any other computer, right, and any other system, we make this ready. This and the JS9000, we share the same hardware type on the processor. The 4 quads, exactly the same cortex. It's exactly the same power. But this controller runs all the 4 cores all the time. That is speed. And you need that amount of speed for what Larry was saying, when you want to bridge, right, that gap between cloud and on-premise. Unless you had a powerful controller to run cloud services on-premise, then you will see that this controller is going to start over exceeding the expectation. This is as fast as possible. How do I compare this with an analogy? It's like you have a Ferrari and one is running 2 miles per hour and the other one is running an old horsepower, right? Why do you want a Ferrari if you want to run it only 2 miles per hour? Doesn't make any sense, right? So this is the same case. You have a Jace that can only run 2 cores out of the 4 all the time. This one runs 4 cores all the time. But with that much power, there's a problem. Have you compared this controller with the Jace 9000 or 8000? If you do, you will realize that where the ports are completely shifted. So if I take a Jace 8000 or 9000, you will see that even though the footprint is the same, the ports are completely shifted. There's a reason why. To run 4 cores like a computer, I need flow rates. Yep. It's going to start to hit. I need flow. I need air so it can run as fast as possible. Well, all these holes are for a reason, and that is why we had to shift the ports. So if you have an 8000 out there and you want to replace it with an advanced controller, the first thing you need to know is if those ports, how it's being wired on that panel when you are going to install it, this one is going to be having enough cable to plug these things. If not, there's not extension of cable. So that is one thing you need to consider. And the other one is the N4. Now, the N413 is running on the Jace 9000. There's nothing below that on the 9000. If a customer like our customers like FBI, our integrators, they don't want to jump directly to the N415 or 13, whatever, they cannot use the Jace 9000. This controller can run N410. So that is also important. There are the 2 questions you need to ask to any integrator contractor. They want 9000. Are you willing to go to N415 in this case? Or if the answer is not, I likely this is going to be your only controller available. Okay? Just FYI. And then the second question, if the cable is sufficient enough that panel to replace that Jace 8000 with this controller. Okay? Questions? Okay. I'll talk a little bit of these features of the advanced because no one realizes that we already have two of them. That is the RSTP switch and the cable diagnostics on the Cypher 30 control. So, what is RSTP switch? Who can tell me what RSTP stands for?
Rapid Entry Protocol.
There you go. Thank you, Rapid Protocol.
Look at
And
that.
what is that? So can explain it. What?
Self-healing network.
Self-healing network or how? How that does? Like, you need to explain it to
Two
the.
ports parallel to each other.
Okay.
One listening to see if the network's valid,
Uh-huh.
and one's controlling traffic.
Okay.
If you lose sight of the loop, the second one picks up and says, "Hey, I got you, buddy. I'll take the other half."
Okay. So you just name it exactly. It's a loop. It's perfect. It's a circle.
IT boot.
Right? They love it. They love it. They get it on the BMS.
Right.
Why? And this is when it gets interesting.
On their network.
Why? What happened at that time? Well, many years ago, when we started at VMS, going to the Ethernet space and trying to get IT on our knowledge, many contractors forget about the loops and how they work on IT. You can loop everything. You can loop this type of monitors, you can loop laptops, you can loop switches. And the beauty of loops, like your pure friend here was telling, is self-healing network. The IT loves switches. The loops, they do every single time. All the architecture of LAN in a building is completely loop. Completely loop. Why? Because if I lose a cable, it can go the other way around, right? That is a circle. Well, that is where we didn't understand, or the contractor didn't understand, that the early stages of IP, how that worked. And that is why they hate so much that the BMS systems, whenever they are speccing in, they say no loops allowed on BMS systems. Why? Okay, you have a circle there, like in the presentation. But what happens with MSTP control systems? What BACnet MSTP stand for? The MS and the TP.
Master slave token pass.
Thank you. So let's say this is a token, right? And I'm a controller. You guys are listening. If I throw the controller to someone of you and I ask you a question, then you're gonna start to speak, and everyone is gonna start to listen. That is where the token comes in. So this controller and this controller and this controller and this controller are MSTP controllers, and I have the token in here. And if I need information from this other controller, that token is going to pass on a daisy chain. That is why it's called a daisy chain. Serial communication protocol. Serial chain. And the token passes through, and then this controller starts to talk, and the rest are going to listen. On a loop, you have a circle, like in the one that is there. And what happens if in a circle, I lose one of the cables? Well, it can go the other way. In MSTP switch, an MSTP daisy chain topology, if I lose one trunk, this token cannot blunder. That is why you don't see the rest of the controllers from that point and beyond. But in a circle, I can go all the way, and that is what it's called, say, self-healing. But guess what? On IP, there's no token. So what happens in a circle? It's a party. Everyone wants to speak. Unless one of those devices is managing that party. And that is where the RSTP switch comes in. When people were doing loops on IP because they were saying, oh, this is way better than BACnet MSTP, we can do BACnet IP, loops, self-healing. Oh, yeah. Asterisk. You need the RSTP switch. And when they were designing this, and all of a sudden they connected to the IT node or switch, the moment they did that, what happened with all the computers and everything that is on the other side of the IT? Because it overflows. It's what we call overcast storm of data. Everyone wants to push information to the network, and everyone is going to try to pull information from the network. It's like when you do BACnet, right? And you know the COV, change of value, and you don't change it properly, and you start to overflow that network. What is going to happen? It's going to start to see slow, and then boom, the connection is low. On a loop, if you don't have an RSTP, that is milliseconds. You lose it completely. So when they were connecting these loops, everything went down. That is why the IT hates so much the BMS on loops, because they think we don't know what is going on. And yeah, for many years, many people didn't even know that. Now, in architecture, that is how many devices on a loop can I put. And this is IT standard.
45, 40, or
40.
40. That's in the, yeah.
40 by standard of the IEEE. Any Ethernet device, I can do a loops of maximum 40 devices. No more. One of them needs to be the RSTP switch or has an RSTP switch. The advanced controller and the Cypher 30 are the only controllers in our portfolio that has the RSTP switch on it. How much is an RSTP switch? It can go from 300 Stern Radio Shack all the way Cisco $5,000, $10,000. So you're saving yourself and your end user a lot of money. Highly because they're not going to put a switch of a Radio Shack on, right? They're going to put something else better. So the advanced controller has it. And then with the loop, once you lose an IP segment, when you lose a cable, where the in the world is that cable in my building? The only way to know, you know what is? To ping controller by controller. If you have 100 VAP boxes in a building, are you going to ping 100 functions? Not only 100, it could be 1,000 times because you need to go one by one. So this controller ping into this one, to this one, to this one, and then the next one, this one, to this one, to this one. 100 times you need to ping the controller. So that is 10,000 times, right? 10,000 pings. You're not going to do that on a building. Our controller, the Cypher 30 and the advanced controller, are the only ones in the portfolio that has in Niagara something that we call chip diagnostics or cable diagnostics. It's on the chipset. And it will tell you via Niagara how many meters down the stream that IT cable, that Cat5, Cat6 cable, you lose communication. It's easier, still not 100%, but at least you know where to start. So if you have this controller down the stream, you go into the layouts, and you see that thing Niagara is telling you it's 1,000 meters down. Then you look at the layouts and you say, okay, that is probably high likely floor 5th. So you go to the 5th floor and then you start to ping, not go all the floors. This is so important, and people like it so much as well. It's there. Protocols is an integration controller. We manage all the protocols. Longworks is there, but the driver is there. The interface module is not there. So how many of you have been working with Cypher 50 controller? Yep. So how you integrate a Cypher 50 with LAN? What do you use? You don't? Okay. Well, if you want to do it, then you need to purchase that one we call the LAN 2 module. It's a wide module that has a USB cable on it, and that cable turns into the controller. Yeah. And the controller has a USB-C port somewhere in here. Like here. There is a USB-C. That is where you connect the LANs to the module, the LAN 2, and then you pick all those. Another question that I have, mainly from the branches projects, if you find Honeywell branch out there, and they say, oh, I have a system that is CUR. Can I integrate CUR into the Attends? Yes, you can. There's a question in here. Do I need an interface? Yes. It's called C-Bus. What do we call the CUR bus? CUR is protocol owned by Honeywell, like Panel Bus.
Mm-hmm.
It was owned by the branch. It's almost dead because that was the current system. We still need to manage it. We have a ton of buildings around the world with curve. You can integrate curve with this, yes. You need another driver. There is a T bus interface, and with that you integrate curve. So many people have been asking me, can I integrate curve? Yes, you can. If you want to use the curve programming tool, you need the kit. That is a Honeywell integration tool that you can use the supervisor to program curve systems.
Oh,
Yeah, it's called HIT 4.0, and it's already here.
is it bi-directional too?
It's
So you don't need the file anymore?
No.
Oh.
So you have that. It's not friendly, I can tell. It's not friendly, but at least you can still work with it. So yeah, you can still integrate it. Okay.
Yeah.
So just FYI, we can do MQTT, that is for cloud integration. We can do SNP and all the other protocols that we have. This is the other third question you need to keep in mind when you need a JS 9000 or an advanced control. And this happening more often. I have a system with CCM protocol. What is CCM protocol? You can tell me. Carrier Comfort Network.
Yep.
So that driver was developed by Carrier with Tridium. Can be used on the advanced? Yeah. So if you have those drivers around, and it's not, we have our data sheet updated, and you will show you which drivers we are able to test. If that driver is not there before you use the advanced, make sure you can test it. Because I can tell you the CCM. Okay. And why it's not working and we cannot make it work? Because that product is not owned by us. It's owned by Carrier. And I cannot purchase, even though we own Tridium, I cannot go with Tridium 8. Send me that tests and I can test it. It's illegal. I can get lawsuit out of it. So they own that product. I cannot test it. Okay. So just third question, if you have those drivers, and if you want to use an advanced controller, you make sure you can test it before you scope it or build it into the system. Okay. 5-year warranty on the hardware. This is something that is stepping aside our other controller. It's a 5-year warranty on the controller. And then we have all these new features like the LED, that it's a bright LED circle, right? You have seen that in the wall. And at the beginning, many people were saying, oh, that is nice, but I really don't use it until they go into the field. Like, oh, they want to troubleshoot with a technician, and that thing is on a plenum. And if you have a small LED, are you capable to see what is going on with the controller? No. So when that is where it's circled and it's so bright, so intense, so you can actually kind of attempt troubleshooting by the phone with someone instead of going to the field. Okay. So Niagara key control is there. It's a full Niagara stack controller. This is not using the IRM tool. This is not using the IPC tool. It's using the full Niagara key control system. Okay, so if you know how to program JS, you know how to program this stuff. Now, we release the ones that have not Wi-Fi or BLE communication. The one that is in my hand, there's two things that are in here, like coaxial inputs. Those are for BLE. This one actually is the BLE Wi-Fi controller. We have a different part number like JS does for Wi-Fi and one for BLE, and the one that has Wi-Fi also has BLE. The BLE for what is intended for? Oh, for the I/O module. When we release a unitary controller BLE, we release an app that we call the wire check. And that does a validation of the wiring using your mobile phone without having this one or any JS license on the site. You can actually start doing pre-validation of the wire without having a license on it, just by using your mobile phone. That thing has been extended to the BLE versions, the two of them, of the advance, these two part numbers, and now you can commission via your mobile phone these I/O modules. All the 17 I/O modules that we have for the advanced. Only the ones that have Bluetooth on. Can I add Bluetooth to the controllers? Why? Because we have to keep that separation, because we also have to comply with cybersecurity. The moment I can plug something into a cyber that is like not Bluetooth Wi-Fi, like these three guys are not Bluetooth Wi-Fi. The moment I want to plug a USB dongle, guess what is going to happen with cybersecurity? Like my computers, oh, I can hack that thing really quick. So that is why we're not allowing Bluetooth unless you purchase a controller that has Bluetooth. So that is one of the things. And then the market, mainly the FBI, the government, the United States, like Tridium and us, requested no more Wi-Fi disable and enable on the controller unless it's a different part number and a different board. That is why Jace also has a different part number with Wi-Fi, and you cannot enable it somehow in the ones that are not Wi-Fi. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So this is the wiring checkout app. So like I was saying, just the Wi-Fi that comes with BLE or the BLE Advanced has this ability, and you can put the 17 I/O modules, and then you can start using your mobile phone and the point to checkout app, the wiring validation and commissioning the wiring of the I/O module. Okay, it's free to use. You can download it in your mobile phone. You'll have access. That is done via offline mode and online mode. You will see it on the user guide, but actually we manage both of them. Offline means that we will give you access to your mobile phone preliminary, and online is that it has a cloud connector with our Forge system to grant you access to it. It's for free, just FYI. And not only that, many people say, why do I need Wi-Fi, right? And what is Wi-Fi there doing? You have two modes like Jace. You have the access mode, or you have the client mode. And the access point mode, what it does is actually behaving like any other IT router. I'll give you every single IP device that connects them. As access point, I'll give and manage those IP addresses. On the client mode, this controller has been granted access to internet access of the building, and then I can start servicing down the stream. Two different modes for different applications. This one, when it's access point, you can grant access to internet devices around. When this is client mode, only the things that are down the stream can have access to this. Okay? So there's a way. The I/O modules, we have 17 I/O modules right now. That is the great difference also from us and the hardware of Tridium and others. We have all these 17 with and without display. And the first question that many people ask me, how many can I put to the advanced control? You can do the maximum that we've tested, 1024 points of control on a single controller. A Jace can do 256. The maximum that we recommend without CPU, right, without this being affected on the performance, 528 points. Still twice as any other Jace. That is where the 4 quads come in fully run. Right? So now you can see, starting to see the power difference. So what is the difference between one having the display and the other one not having? Well, the one that has display, like the UIOs, you have a digital way to force inputs and outputs and configure this I/O module without the need of the advanced controller or the Jace. Now, that is one of the things that you can do. As soon as I power this controller, this I/O module, I can start configuring every single input and output without having a Jace or my laptop or a supervisor there. That is great because when you start to, let's say, change I/O modules, or you want to send I/O modules from your office to the site, you can do it and configure it in your office and send it to the side easily. Or if you don't want to send someone to the side, just the person that is there can do it via the display. And you just tell them, well, the input number one is going to be binary input, and it's going to be with on off and 24 volt, blah, 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 whatever you want, right? You don't need someone to go into the side, program the IO module. Okay. Now, all the IO modules right now are panel bus IO. Panel bus is a protocol owned by Honeywell and on device. Which controllers in our portfolio manage panel bus? The Cyper 15 and the Honeywell 9000, the Web 8000, and the Advanced Control. Question: can I use these ones with the JS8000? Yes. Can I use this one with the Cyper 50? Yes. Can I use these ones in the Advanced? Okay. Those IO modules that we call the panel bus legacy, that are the XFRs and the XFs, they're going to go away. This is way better, and this is the future. So we're going to start also announcing last time buy for those pieces. Now, if you have a building with those XFRs, that means the Advanced cannot pull them. Yes, it's still panel bus. So you can integrate those as well. Okay. So what is happening on the IOs is that right now we have a selector in here, and then I'll talk about the video you're seeing there, but let me go back. Let's see if I can see no, it doesn't show currently in the IO. Oh, there you go. Probably here because this one is better. So you have something here that is called protocol, and I will pass this one through. Just please send it back over. So you have a protocol selector. This one was intended to design, and now it's coming in reality next year, Q1, is that by this dip switch, I can convert, instead of panel bus that runs RS-485, communication serial port protocol, BACnet or Modbus. We're going to start with Modbus RTU. So when you have this baby on a third-party system that can hold Modbus, just change this protocol dip switch, and all of a sudden this IO is no longer panel bus. It's Modbus. It's the same part number, so you don't need to purchase anything new. The firmware will be enabled. The 17 of them will become Modbus. You can switch over BACnet or Modbus. Later on, it's going to be BACnet M2. We're going to start Modbus. Okay. So by doing that flip switch, you will be able to do that. That was designed since the beginning. Then the IO modules are really easy to plug and play. That's where the touch flakes come in. You don't need to wire anything to plug them. As long as those are touching and they're in the same DIN rail, at the sudden you have power and communication for them. People ask me, well, you talk about almost 1,000 IO modules. That means 64 IOs on a single trunk, on a single frame. I'm not going to have a wall with that thing, right? So how do I do that? Well, you purchase these babies. There are the IO adapters, which, by the way, if you have one right now, you might be the richest people on earth because these are in high demand worldwide right now. And between Europe and others, so you can go black market and sell it at $1,000 if you want to. And you put these guys over here. And then all of a sudden, those touch plates convert to terminal plots, power and communications comes in first. So the other one, you put it below. Let's say I have another IO module here, right? And then I wire it to the next row and so on and so forth. Now, that not is only the only thing that you can do with it. If you're not using any IO with the advanced, any of this, and you just have an advanced, and this one has 3 ports of RS-485. If you purchase this and you plug it in here, like this, something like that, sorry, like this, then these touch flakes that were back panel buds. If you're not using any IO in this device, on this advanced, all of a sudden you have another port in here. This one now has 1, 2, 3, 4 RS-485 independent. so you can have another expansion. This comes handy until we have the NPV that it's high demand as well. That they are asking, I want to expand more than 4 RS-45. You can do 5, but you cannot use the IOs. And until then, 2027, we will have the IO the IO that is comes. It will be likely first RS-45 Modbus, final bus, and the other. And probably 121L as well. So you will have there. But until then, that's the most you can do. Okay. So that's the other consideration between adjacent and the advanced. How many ports you can have. If you're not using IOs, the maximum you can have because of the model is 5. Because we have one other version that has 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I attach this one, I have 5. Okay. Just keep those tips in mind whenever you want to decide going through a J9000 or an advanced controller. Okay. So that is the IO adapter, the touch flakes. Like I was saying, out of the box, you start to configure the IO modules that have display on it. You can only do that with the ones with display. Okay. And then some cool things that people never realized on the launch of on the unitary that was the very first that we had. Many people saying, "Oh, the colors are great and these are really great," but then are really coming handy when you have a classic Spyder like in the one that's on the board and you want to replace one input or an output. You can only take it out by using a screwdriver. This is handy now. Now you see why we do this kind of things. Like, oh, I don't know why they do it until you face, oh, I need just to plug and disconnect inputs and outputs. It's easier to do it. The other one is colors. Every single purple color in our optimizer suite is a universal input and output. All the orange is a digital output. It will say, and so what, Moises? Well, if you have a technician that in his life has seen a controller and you're trying to troubleshoot with him, and you say, well, that sensor, where is going? Oh, into an orange block. That's a problem, bro. This is a digital output, and that's a sensor. Why is that sensor in here? That's your big problem. You know, see where we're going? At the beginning, it doesn't make any sense when you look at the colors, but they look nice, but there's something more going on behind, right? Okay. Okay. So the hot swap bases, okay? Hot swap bases, people say probably the very first time you guys seen this, right? These are called hot swap bases. What they do is, like the name stands for hot swap, is that I can switch input and outputs of a module without powering up the advanced controller. So when you have the train, and forgive me, I'll do only one. So I have a train, this is small, I'll put this one in here. And then I'll put this one without hot swappings. And let's say this one in here. The train. So this one has the hot swappings. So what happens? Oh, probably it's the other way around. Robots. So let's do the other way around. Oh shit!
Give me one.
Half price.
Yeah, 1 second.
Product testing.
Yeah, perfect. So there you go. So let's say I have the train, right? Without the DIN rail, this is so complicated. Right. So let's say this one over here is controlling the chiller. And this one is controlling the heat plant. Let's say, right? You have more than this. What happens if the heat plant IO goes away? Oh, if you don't have a hot swap, that means this completely gone. You lose the chiller. Oh, but what about the hot swap? Oh, the hot swap, what it'll do is that you can replace any of the IOs that has hot swap without powering the advanced controller. You don't have to power cycle the controller. You just remove it out of the field, or you can leave it if it's already dead. But the rest of the IOs will keep run. Okay, now that doesn't mean that the input and outputs are being run. Yeah, because this is not physical input and output switch, right? Like the Cyber 30 that has a physical switch on. So the hot swap bases, just FYI, requires that you think about using them when you are designing the system, because people will start to say it doesn't work. Well, if you start to mix heating and chiller, right, on an IO, and this controlling both, and this is gone, what's gonna happen with both? They're gone, bro. So if you're trying to mix systems, the hot swap bases will not do anything, right? So just keeping that in mind. And last but not least, with the sorry about that, the HMI. So what about the HMI? The HMI, many people ask me, can I see the graphic? No, but you can do other stuff with this. It pairs with this port over here. That it's a RJ11 cable. Don't ask me why we're using telephone cable thinker. It's not a telephone. It's a telephone cable, but it's not punched onto your telephone. Well, who has telephones in their house?
Got extra cable and to do something with it.
Yeah, correct. So probably kind of like we ended up with a bunch of this cable, and so you can still pair it. We have a panel or wall, so whatever you choose, and you will be able to see up to 4,000 points down the stream using this display. As long as those points are exposed, you can do scheduling, you can do the alarms, you can search by point type, you can search by point name, you can do scheduling as well. 20 max users, all password protected. The information is stored on the advanced controller, so you know exactly who forced which thing. We'll change a configuration. Okay, so that is on the advanced. On the licensing scheme, works exactly like Tridium, except for the IO module, because there are panel buses. Okay, so every single license comes with panel bus X amount of points. Like this one, for example, has 100 panel bus points. That means that I can attach to that controller that has that license 100 input and output points, not 100 IO module, 100 input and output points. Does that count toward the licensing of 3 devices and 50 global points? No. Then they separate, isolate. Okay. Just keep that in mind. You can still grow them using expansion and the SMAs as well. The SMAs work as Tridium. If you don't update the SMA and then you later want to update it, every single year that you kept that on not updated, you need to count those years. Okay. So questions regarding the advanced? We went through the J's comparison already. And last but not least, I will end up with this one so we can go up. Yeah, right. So it's on the advanced. What is coming? Well, 2026, we're going to release a Edge license on this advanced control. So it's going to be a kit. Okay. So any existing advanced, you will not be able to license it Edge. But the white packs will come with one of this and 2 IOs. Could be with or without display. So we have different models. And it will come with 100 points license on the edge with unlimited SMA. From those 100 points, you can choose from BACnet, Modbus, Panel Bus. But it's a mix of hardware and software points. You can upgrade it to advanced, but you cannot go more beyond that 100 points on the edge. The moment you upgrade it, you lose the SMA. That's standard across Tridium, what we call portability license. Okay, so that is coming on Q1, late Q1, the IO modules with Modbus, all the 17, and then mid Q2, what we call the essential control. And the essential controller is in here, and you guys are the very first people in the world seeing this controller. This is essential controller. This looks like a unitary controller, Oh, now I got confused. This is yes, controller. It looks like a unitary controller. How I differentiate them? Well, first of all, the amount of inputs and outputs and type of inputs and outputs. When you start to see the yellow ones, you know it's the essential. When you look at the side and you find this port that is the RJ for this one to be connected here, then you have a display like the Cyber 50, right? Now we are not, the distributors love this because now you don't have to mix which one do I purchase. You purchase only one, and whomever wants a display, you purchase this one just connect. Okay? And then the other thing is, you look at the unitary controller, the touch flakes are not there. This one has a touch. Why? Because I can expand this controller. I can expand it by using the same touch flakes. Now, on the other slide, you will see, and that is where we're going to talk tomorrow, about the expansion of the unitary controller. Because we're going to allow those panel bus, Modbus, to be connected to the unitary controller to expand the unit. Okay? But not by using the touch flips, by using Modbus. And not all the 17, because we don't want to cannibalize this controller. We don't want that is low. And we want to keep the unitary spectrum. And this one for ERVs, air handling units customized, and chiller plants up to 300 points max. From there, the advanced comes in. This is what you guys will know as the essential control. Edge license and capabilities are increasing licenses of from 100 all the way to almost 600 points, but 300 of them is going to be high likely the maximum. That licensing scheme still on draft, but we know that we don't want to reach more than 300, probably 400 controls points, physical points. Any other mix, 600, the other 200 points will be global capacity, but that's it. Okay.
No SMA.
No SMA on the edge.
Point license, but no SMA on
the edge. On the edge. Once you start up, go beyond 100, then the SMA goes away, and then you can increase IOs and software points, global points, but now you need an SMA. Okay. Now this one differs a lot from the event because this one has 4 quads. This one, because of the application type, only 2 quads. It's still more powerful than Cyber 50, but not in effect. So now we're building separation between the offerings, and we want you guys to stop using a Ferrari to go 20 miles per hour, right? That's why you might use a unitary controller, and then use a Ferrari for what you can do. Okay? Questions? So, programming at the beginning, hierarchy control, then IRM, and then IPC. Okay, so you can migrate that. No questions? Okay.
I'll have place here in the morning for those who attend that session for any questions. So here in the morning with more questions.
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll continue.
Yeah. So if you have questions for Moises, he'll be there tonight. He'll be there all morning. Thank you all for attending. It's about 5 o'clock right now. For those of you that can, please, everybody's invited. We're having dinner tonight. If you, at 30 Hop, it's here in town.
The top of the server rack and punched a hole straight through the whole rack of it. And so we didn't have the backup, obviously, and took out the Jace as well and the supervisor. And so then I had to rebuild it just from scratch. And if we had this sort of thing, right, the Niagara Recover, it would have been a 30-minute service call and they would have been back up and running, right? So that one time, decades of the cost of this would have been worth it. So I genuinely believe you guys should be looking into installing this on every project, every Jace, every supervisor. Because again, you use it once, awesome. You never use it, okay, right? It wasn't that much of an insurance cost. So with that, let's jump over to remote. So when I click on remote, this is going to look pretty familiar to all of you. assuming many of you are familiar with connecting and taking a look at the ORD path in a browser. Quite here, from here over, this is just the ORD path, right? And before this, there's where we are, remote.niagara-cloud.com. And from there over, that's the system ID. So this is the ID, this is the identity of this station within the Niagara Cloud Suite, .remote.niagara-cloud.com, and then from there on out, it's the same as this station. Its IP address at my house is 192.168.1.143, right? So if I was at home, I could open another tab, and you'd see that it's the same. So that's where earlier when I was saying, if you can do it through a browser, you can do it through Niagara Remote. Quite literally, if you can do it through a browser, you can do it through Niagara Remote, because this is the same. It's the same, right? It's identical. It's functionally identical, and you're going to be able to work through it the same. We had mentioned the graphics editor. I maybe just in conversation, I'd mentioned that earlier. At 415 and on, you can edit. You can create and edit PX pages. Really, they're UX pages, but same. It's just a change in name basically, and that's right here, right? So I can go to my editor, and edit things here. It works just like PX Editor does in Workbench. You can open your palettes over here, right? Open your palettes over here. You've got your different panes, everything like that. However you want to build it, you can go in and edit it there, and then just hit the pencil, right? All the tools are the same. So that's there now. There's another reason that you're not going to need to be running a machine with Workbench licensed, right? You can connect remotely. If you have a customer that you have an install tech that goes and installs a VAV into a site, and it's all just BACnet points, BACnet device and BACnet points, you don't need to go out there, right? You can connect remotely. You can open it there. You can run the BACnet discovery because BACnet Device Manager works. There's a web view for BACnet Device Manager. You can discover it, bring it in, add the points, add the graphic, modify the schedule, whatever you need to do, all through Niagara Remote. And it's pretty easy to, Moisa said, I mentioned it earlier, it's a little anticlimactic, right? Because this is something that the industry has been asking Tridium for a long time. Hey, when are we going to get Niagara? When are we going to get remote access? When are we going to get it? It's here, and it's easy. You're already familiar, so it's not like you're needing to learn any new tools or anything like that, right? You just connect to it, and you're off and run. Are there any questions regarding remote or recover? I didn't check in on recover. Anybody?
You going to alarm service?
Yeah, I was going to go to data service next.
So, this gets us to the JIS, for instance.
Yep, the JACE or the supervisor. And this is, yeah, you had had the question earlier. The license is placed per station.
So if we've got a site for 30 on this same network,
Mhm.
we would have to add RVM license to that cipher and access it through a different web URL, because you can't jump to my cipher saying 192.168,
Yeah.
39.25,
Yep.
and my JACE is 26.
So so for RVM, that's going to be a different URL, a different port. Yeah, it's going to be, I'll tell you on the backside, it's the same connector, right? But the actual user interface is a different user.
Same.
The backside, the engineering of it,
Oh,
right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the Niagara connector. Yeah. Yep. I did say this is one thing that I was going to show you guys, and that is when I go to the cloud service here, it's going to open the property sheet, or the wire sheet, not the property sheet. And click over there. I want property sheet, not wire sheet. There we go. So when we go to channels, the channels underneath of it, depending on which of the services you have, are going to change what channels appear here. I have all three of the services on here. So if I go to backup, this is the Niagara recover channel, and then through policies, and then default backup policy. And now here, this should look familiar. Obviously, I don't know if you all go through the web view or the AX property sheet view is a little different. This is just the backup service, right? So if you are used to setting up the backup service, this is going to be the same. You can set your excluded folders, you can set your excluded files, and then you can set your execution time up here. Like I said, for me, it's Sunday at 3 a.m. plus or minus 4 hours. See the last trigger, the next trigger is all set there. And then the one change that I'd mentioned, which was the passphrase first password, is here. And so by default, this is going to be set to system passphrase. You can change it to system password if you have reasons to, if you don't want to expose your passphrase algorithm, or if you don't remember your passphrase, right? I'm sure that doesn't happen to any of you, that you don't forget that you don't remember your passphrase. But if you do, if you did, you can set this to password, and your decryption can be done by a password. Anything? Yeah.
Are there any limitations from Workbench to remote that you don't get remote right now?
The limitation is doesn't have a web view, right? So for the Honeywell tools, they have not all of the tools have been built out as web view tools. They're still AX view tools. As those get built out, then that'll open it up. But the limitations are if you kind of want to have a checksum, right, on can I do this? If you can do it locally through a browser, you can do it through root. Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
something. What's it? SMA expiration monitor?
Yep.
That's something you could email out ahead of time.
I suppose you could.
Right now, I'm trying to do it through the JSON toolkit, send it
Yeah.
early to everybody.
Yep. I suppose you could. I mean, it's an org in the station. There is also with the Cloud Suite subscription, with the NCS subscription, there are reminders that get sent out ahead of time before the subscription is due to expire as well. And they are, in order for the subscription license to be active, the SMA needs to be active as well. So that is going to be, you can't have a Cloud Suite subscription without an active SMA. Those are tied together, and for good reason, right? We need you to be able to keep it up to date for security purposes. Anything else on these?
Is the program service type stuff, robot editor, program blocks, all that stuff going to work in Niagara 5?
Oh yeah, that'll all be there. That will all be there. Only other thing. Oh, I suppose I'll show you this too. When I go up to, let me close these because now there's lots of stuff here. I had mentioned the system ID. You can see that there. That's the same as up here. So when you're looking at a station locally and you go and you look at the TCP/IP configuration, you see the IP address, and then you can see that it's the same in the URL. It's the same here. So yeah, that's there, right? It again, it's something that's pretty easy to use and can almost be a little like, oh, okay, cool, right? But it's a powerful tool for you guys to be able to remotely access, manage, and even do engineering as well, right? Because you can do wire sheet engineering, you can do the BACnet device discovery, you can do the relations manager. All of that stuff is available through web views at this point. All right, so with that, we'll jump over to, we'll do alarms first. Alarms have been moved. Initially, they were a part of the data service portion. They've been moved out here. So the alarms are up here. If we go to the alarms, you can see all or unread. You can mark as unread. You can move things around. You can also access it if we go to the data service here. Here, I'll click on the alarms, and now you can see them all show up here. Now these are unfiltered, so these are all of the alarms for this customer. Obviously, there's a lot because we have a whole bunch of stations that we use for testing. You can filter them here. You can filter obviously by the device, by the duration, anything along those lines. And then you can also select. So I mass selected there. You can individually or mass select, and I can export all of them together. What that's going to do is that's going to create a CSV that each of those alarms will be a single line. If I was to select one and export it, that would basically be a CSV of a single line. It's a pretty straightforward thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Question though.
Yeah.
What's the notification? Is the notification coming now from the cloud, or is it still coming from your on-site hardware?
It's still coming from on-site hardware. Well, and
The reason for the
it's
question
a
is
yes.
the cellular world decided to screw us all on
Yes.
testing alarms.
Yep, I know.
So is there any service to do that conversion within Tridium?
Not yet.
Come on, man.
I know. Well, I should say yes. I should say yes, there is. Yes, there is a driver, but it requires additional hardware, and it requires a cell modem basically to send it out, to basically attach effectively a cell phone to the side of and that's a whole process,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we don't have one internally. There is a driver available on the marketplace from a third-party developer to send out SMS texts.
Change the format and just push it.
Yeah.
Without all the extra hardware.
Is that SMS Eagle? Am I talking to the right one?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I actually just came across it like a week ago.
Because there's some.
I haven't actually tested it. So
There's some subscription
Well,
sites also pop up.
yeah.
when we got blessed by the Verizons of the world,
Yes.
we had to find a solution pretty fast. And
Yeah.
that was the one that I found.
Okay.
And they are a very proactive company.
Okay.
But as far as testing it ourselves, we have not.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Curious.
Yeah, like I said,
Well, I'm just making sure he's talking the same one that.
yes, yeah, we are, and that was one where I was trying to figure it out as well. Right? I was thinking like, this is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, you buy
You know?
the license from the marketplace. It literally takes your notifications.
Yep.
It just goes out just like you'd have a council.
Awesome.
You just route it to the council,
Awesome.
goes straight to them. They handle everything.
Great. I like I said, I'd love to try it, but I just haven't had a chance to test it yet, kind of thing. So, okay, we got just a few minutes left. So quickly, I'll jump over to API connections. Right. So APIs, we won't dig into them too much, but this facilitates control out. We have there are three APIs. There's a telemetry API, which is histories. There's a control API, which is control, read, and write functions. And then there's an alarm API. So if you have a separate dashboard or service that you use, third-party FDD, fault detection, right, analytics, third-party programs, you can connect them via API. They can take in your telemetry, your control, and your alarms. As an example, just a quick example of this, I'll show you two examples. One of them is just a very simple dashboard that I built of the thermostat that's actually running my house, and then the thermostat that's in my basement, just kind of sitting there. I know my house is not 63 degrees, right? Well, it is in the basement, right? So
Your offices?
no, thankfully. That's where my lab is, though. So what you're seeing on the left, this is from the telemetry. This is the history API. This is all the data that is going up and is being held in the cloud server, right? Your question earlier about pricing, this is data that has been egressed. So the volume of this data is how the billing happens on which tier you fall into on the data service, right? The other two are it's the same price no matter the size of station.
Okay.
On the right here, this dial, this is the control API. So this is live input from the thermostat. Effectively telemetry, your total your total kind of route is from your computer, right? I'm from my PC to the cloud, right? For the control API, it's going from my computer to the cloud and then back down to the Jace and then back up to the cloud and back. So any read-write calls may take slightly longer than telemetry calls, right? But that's how that works. Alarm API works the same way. If I had an alarm readout here, it would be going up and just pulling from the cloud as opposed to from the Jace itself. And then quickly on the control API, I'll show some quick examples here. The control API, you'll also see things called the Entity Model Service API. When you onboard the device, it's going to build out an entity model. This is where if you have tagged your points, tagged your controllers, you're going to have a better, more complete entity model. When you onboard, it is going to assign a Niagara Cloud ID tag to everything on the station. And then on your histories, it is going to assign a Niagara Cloud telemetry ID tag to every history that's not excluded from that. So just as a quick example, I'm using Postman in this instance. It's an easy API tool. This is kind of the barest of bones to kind of show you how this works. There is this is a post. You can go out, send it. It's going to return. This is a simple request of find all the points. So here's all the points in there. We can also go through and we can write a point. In this instance, this is writing the I think it's like the heating set point for a station to, okay, it says success, and then I can also clear that point. So now this again is the history ID API, the history or the telemetry ID is going and grabbing from the cloud. These are going out all the way down to the Jace that's in my basement. And then if you have an alarm history query, I can go out here. This is the alarm API. This is a whole lot of information that I really tried to cram down there into about, what was that, 30 minutes or so? Right? Does anybody have any more questions? Otherwise, I can make sure you all have contact information and feel free to reach out and we can take a little more time addressing individual.
So you all are the first Honeywell group that we've spent any time showing this or talking to or explaining this. If there is interest, I've talked to Jeff. We want to start putting together some training for it. You know, he talked about the training. It's like a 4-hour class. Mm-hmm. So we'll put something together. And if you guys are interested in purchasing this stuff, I'm just going to tell you, we haven't put out a ton of information for these guys to know how or what to purchase. So have a little patience with us, but we will promise to get it right. Make sure we get you guys up to speed on it.
$1 million.
Jeff and I were just talking, and there might be some good things out there. But I'll let you talk to him about pricing and stuff. But like I said, there hasn't been a lot of information for them. So we will back them up and make sure we get all the right pricing if you have any questions and things like that. So just let us know, let them know, and we'll work with everybody. So kind of excited that this is the first place we've rolled it out. And just love to hear feedback as we again, come up to us. If you have any other Niagara questions or anything, grab Jerome before he leaves.
Yep. So Larry and I talked. We're gonna probably do some sort of virtual or maybe in person, but definitely and virtual remote cloud type class here sometimes.
Yeah, great.
We're gonna figure out how to get that done for you guys in short order. So
yeah.
Some of these tools will be available because we do have the pricing. I think you're gonna be surprised how affordable some of the pricing is that we looked at some of this cloud stuff today. And so we want to get those tools in your hands right away. So we'll work on that.
Says that right?
We'll work on that very good.
Yeah. And we have a curriculum in place and already set. So as soon as you